everyone, and
we went to Bunkrana today.
We traveled internationally, and just so you guys know, at least one person has asked, just in case anyone else wants to know.
What are you doing?
That is a map of Thedas from Dragon Age.
Now you caught the thing in my trouser cuff. Now you've ruined everything.
So,
Ta-da.
we saw Ghostbusters 2016, aka Ghostbusters Answer the Call, aka Ghostbusters...
It was actually called Answer the Call?
In some areas, yes.
Oh, okay.
AKA Ghostbusters, the internet's current favorite chew toy. AKA Ghostbusters.
Now it's crooked. I fixed it.
Something else. And,
but we went to Bunkrana, and then we went to the key for the festival and ate lots of junk. Yeah. And then we went to see Ghostbusters. It's terrible when we start the vlog and we're like, here's everything else we did. Also, I ate a cronut. It was very magical.
See, I don't do that. Not the cronut thing, the explaining everything beforehand. Usually.
Well, I just did, so.
That's a you thing.
But yeah, so we saw Ghostbusters.
And before we start with the general review and then the spoilers, because it's not out in America yet.
Well, I think it is out in America.
No, not for another few days.
No, it's the same release date. It's already out in America. People have gone to see it. Well, I'm pretty sure it's out in America already.
I don't think so. But by the time they see it, it might be.
Well,
if I'm right, it's a couple of days.
Use your judgment. I mean.
But going into this, I thought it looked like crap. I thought it looked terrible, and you can see our vlog on the subject if you really want to.
We talked for a long time.
You know, it just didn't look good. Nothing to do with the fact that they're all women. If they're all men, just as bad.
Aye.
You know. And how did you feel going into it?
The trailer didn't exactly set me on fire. Like, I go into movies with the idea that if we see it on half price night, if I was at least entertained, you know, that's at least something. So I was like, it'll be... is what I thought from the trailer. I figured we'd probably go, it'll have its good parts, it'll have its bad parts, but overall it probably won't be shit, so...
Yeah. So, now, general review. From my point of view, the trailer was accurate in everything but the exact quality. It was a little bit better than the trailer, but the tone, the problems with it, with the ghosts looking like crap, with it not really feeling like a Ghostbusters film because it's way too cartoony, it's way too self-awarenessly quirky.
Yeah. This is a kids' movie, make no mistake. There are some jokes in there for the adults, but this is definitely a children's movie. Like, there were some 20-somethings in the theater with us, and I went to see the 5:30 p.m. showing. But there was a lot of little kids, a lot. And it's really bad when the worst part of the film is not all little kids, because there was this one wee girl who looked like she was 5 or 6, who had this really great way of shouting at obvious things right after they happened, like, "Look, a ghost!" And that actually, in any other movie, I'm like, shut up, was actually charmingly endearing in this film. But, yeah.
So that's the overview. We're going to go into spoilers and more exact things.
Dead will rise.
What should we start off with?
There was editing issues. There were big editing issues, and in the first 5 minutes of the film, I leaned over and I'm like, that was edited poorly. And when even I can tell something, it was like different shots are edited poorly, then you got problems there.
Either it was severely not very good editing or not very good coverage, or as someone pointed out at some point, there's 15 minutes cut out of the film, so maybe there was stuff we missed.
Aye. Good cameo by Charles Dance, though. Spot on. Being evil at every turn.
This film, okay, this is a remake / remixing of the first Ghostbusters in the same way that Force Awakens is A New Hope.
But Force Awakens was really good.
Yeah, but it took elements from the original one recognizably and sort of mixed them around.
Okay, fair play.
Same sort of thing. But this one, it was worse than The New Hope, and this one suffered from being a remake instead of being a sequel.
Yeah.
The villain character
first of all, is so transparent. Like, there's no reason. He doesn't get any motivation. He has your standard evil bad guy, Bishonen motivation of, I'm really smart, I've never been respected, so I'm gonna get revenge by using technology and the supernatural to, basically wipe humanity to restore all to white, as every vision and bad guy says in anime. And you're like, okay, player, like, there's never an establishing... Just taken for granted, like, okay,
he's hipster
sure.
Evo Shandor. Character in the first one that never actually appeared on screen.
Oh,
but was the main villain in Ghostbusters, the video game. But, okay, this guy, he just so happens to invent the same equipment as the Ghostbusters, to try and open up portals to Ghosts and world.
Okay, there's the mainish character, who is a for reals scientist, you guys. She's a physics professor up for tenure at Columbia, who apparently, because she wrote a book about the paranormal with her friend, this, like, bars her from academia forever, which would never happen, actually. So this book goes on Amazon because Melissa McCarthy's like, I need money and I can make a quick buck this way, and he buys a copy and apparently uses their technology to...
Was their theory, but then it was in the Ghostbusters thing. They got Holtzman to actually build it.
Yeah.
So with this guy, they had the same. He read their theory things and he sort of built it just independently. However,
because he's a genius,
that is really, really clunky and not very good for suspension of disbelief. It would have worked far better, I think, if he had found old equipment used in the 1980s. Yeah. If this was a long-awaited sequel, that would have worked far better. I wouldn't be surprised if in one of the Ghostbusters 3. Scripts, that was exactly what happened, and they sort of recycled elements.
Although I gotta say, Holtzman, is it Catherine McKinnon, I think. She was fantastic. Everybody else felt like they were kind of acting the part, and it came across very cartoonish, especially in the character of the mayor and his assistant.
Oh yeah.
But she gave it 100%. Her character was very real, was very believable, was fun. And it didn't hurt the fact that facially and in a bit in her diction and her delivery, she reminded me a lot of the actress that plays Abby in it, or played Abby in NCIS. I can't remember if NCIS is ever yet.
And Holtzman's a bad name. Just call her Les Be Gone Spangler.
She is the shining gem of this movie.
Yeah, she is basically this the hipster version of Egon Spangler.
Yeah.
The sort of the updated version. If you squinted a bit, you could have actually had her in the original or Ghostbusters 2 as some
the
sort
fact that she probably was a fetus.
Well, yeah, but the character would fit as a love interest for Egon in Ghostbusters 2. Say. But
now, this didn't come across in the trailer, but the character Patty was actually the most real and fleshed out of all of them.
Which is bizarre, given the stuff they showed of her in the trailer.
Yeah. Like... And don't get me wrong, there are parts where she is incredibly the loud black friend stereotype, but she reminded me so much of a girl that I used to work with at the call center, but this girl was very quiet, but dialed up to like 12,000. But she was the most well-rounded of all the characters. The problem is that a lot of the stuff just happens because the script says so. Mm-hmm. Like, she shows up and she's like, I'm joining the team. And we're like, did she quit her job? Did she fire from her job?
I think she was probably fired because of the incident with the train, but...
There should have been a line in there. Like,
I'm guessing that was a scene that was deleted.
Because you guys got me fired, I'm joining your team now.
Everyone else's performances. Literally everyone else, except for maybe one or two people, are quirky in the self-aware sort of late 2000s indie comedy weirdness way. Like, it's as though... Everyone looked at Louis Tully in the first one, and then Janusz Poha and Janine from Ghostbusters 2, and were like, everyone, act like that. And they took that as a base, and...
Like, Chris Hemsworth, like, you could tell he was having fun, but, again, he's acting like a cartoony character, although I did kind of wonder how much, like, he amused himself and others, during the filming by, like, saying some of the lines from Thor during outtakes. I bet there's outtakes where he just silence, puny mortal, or something like that.
But the original Ghostbusters, you had the occasional sort of quirky, sort of weird character, but everyone else was done very natural. So even Egon is basically ambiguous.
I'm a scientist.
Ambiguous spectrum.
Yeah. Something
like that. But everyone else was just like, it was played naturally, and that worked so much better. Mm-hmm. There was no straight man in this film. The closest thing was probably Holtzman.
The closest thing to a straight man was the audience. And here's the thing, so there's a lot of kid-friendly jokes, but then there's, like, a queef joke, like, literally, 15 minutes in, and you're like, kids aren't gonna get that.
Yep.
That's gotta be only for the parents. But the thing is that, like, I'm actually going to say something controversial. I can see how a lot of people who are in their 30s now will go and say, oh, I was totally betrayed by this movie. Because the thing is, it really is a children's movie. It really is not written for an adult audience.
Yeah, which in the first one was written for an adult audience. It was just children latched onto it.
Yeah.
And then Ghostbusters 7...
I realized, because I said, what was the original? It was PG-13, was it not? And then you reminded me that PG-13 hadn't been invented yet.
Yeah.
So PG included a shit ton back then, back in the bad old days.
Yeah. Yeah, it was basically it was basically one of the 80s sex comedies. But with horror and sci-fi elements.
What was the movie that created PG-13? Was it Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
I don't think so. I can't remember.
If you know.
Jurassic Park, maybe? Or Temple of Doom, maybe?
I remember there being one, and they invented PG-13 just for that.
But Ghostbusters, the first one's not a kid's film. That's why Ghostbusters 2 was infantilized. At least big chunks of it were.
Yeah, like if you're going to this expecting that, I'm telling you, you will feel disappointed because it really is a children's movie.
Yeah, and the infantilization, which is in this film, it started with 2, although with this one, 2 has bits that are severely infantilized, like the stuff with using goodwill to defeat the stuff. They have elements through it. This one is far more pronounced. Like Ghostbusters 2, to counterbalance that, had the bit in the subway with the heads on sticks and stuff like that. This film has nothing as dark as in the first or second Ghostbusters film. Nothing.
No.
And this one has...
Like, when the first ghost thing happens, I remember thinking, oh no, I hope the little kids behind us don't get scared. But, like, no toddler went off screaming and had to be taken. Some had to be taken out to the toilet. But no one got scared and upset.
Yeah, which means that the Ghostbuster film, it failed on one of the elements of the thing, which is, it is also a horror film.
Yeah.
This was not. It's...
the ectoplasm gets on. This did not happen in this movie. The woman with the mink, and all the mink's like, ah!
Yeah.
I loved that. Sorry, I had a moment there. But yeah.
This one has a ghost flasher.
Yeah, but like a kid knows what a flasher is anymore. Well, I think that... But it was all about tropes, and I hate to go all Anita Sarkeesian on the world, but like... everybody was a trope. And I'm not just saying, oh, well, this is a women trope. Just like everyone was. And like they were so obvious with it too. You're gonna be like the mayor from Jaws. Hey, I am not like the mayor from Jaws. Don't you ever call... It's just everyone... This central casting could have gotten, the people that write The Simpsons to write this. And it's unfortunate, because I have the feeling that it could have been really, really, really cool if a lot of things were done differently. Like, a lot of the editing just felt so off. Like, when they go into the main theme the first time, like, the original theme, and then they do like a 2-second fade. They just take it down and then another scene starts. I'm like, no, milk that. Because they did the 1980s, like, several aerial shot of the city kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, milk that. Nah, it's over in 3 times.
I was really disappointed from the first frame because it starts off with the Columbia logo. Now, if you watch Ghostbusters 1, the Columbia logo does not have the usual audio. It's got this sort of creepy ghost sound over it. And this one did not have that.
Alright. But, I mean, then there's the mainish character who's just... I hate to say she is just like such a collection of tropes. Like, you really can't say, this is a feminist movie because it's all women in the roles. But it's... Yeah,
people have said that. They can say it and they have,
but the thing is, it's not, though, because basically what you have is these are all characters we've seen before. And I'm not saying that they're one-dimensional or they're just poorly written. Like, Melissa McCarthy is playing the characters that Melissa McCarthy plays. And I'm not saying that she's a bad actress, because I don't think she is. I think she's actually a really good actress. And her character, while it wasn't very fleshed out, it wasn't as real and three-dimensional as Patty, it sounds like the kind of person, the kind of woman that I've worked with in several different jobs. Like, that sounds like the kind of, Phyllis, who lives on the corner, yeah, she, So, but then she's just playing the character she always plays. Like I said, Patty is the most well-developed of the characters. But she's dialed up to 1,000. The mainish character, she's basically Woody Allen in a wig, with her neuroses when she's trying to be. And there's a point, and again, it's lampshaded again because there's this kind of little bitchy, little horrible, the mayor's assistant who's like, oh, these poor pathetic women. It's like they read Eat, Pray, Love, and took it to heart. And I'm like, yeah, it is like. this is trying so hard to be a chick flick and Ghostbusters, and I think that it would have benefited from better writing. These characters are we know so little about Holtzman, but because, the actress is really good, she manages to shine, but we don't know anything about her. Where's she from? We have, the mainish characters, I had my ghost trauma, I saw a ghost, no one believed me, and I got called Ghost Girl, and I was in therapy. But it's just, I don't know, it's lazy writing.
And it's not stated in the film, but subtext is there that Holtzman is in a relationship of sorts with Melissa McCartney.
Mm-hmm.
McCarthy?
McCarthy.
Okay, with her. Right. There's lots of we talked about the film on the way up, so trying to make sure I don't miss anything.
Oh, that's fine. I'm saying all the, and all the original cast, with the exception of Rick Moranis, do have a cameo. So spoilers.
And William Atherton doesn't turn up.
Oh, that's true.
He was Peck. Bill Murray plays Peck equivalent, and it's like Bill Murray attempting to be a gay, lightly homophobic gay stereotype, maybe impersonation of Quentin Crisp. It's rather odd.
It is. But the cool thing, and I had a bit of headcanon, because they all the original cast have cameos, which is gratifying to see. And so go with me. Oh, I made the camera unfocus. Go with me for a second on my headcanon. That the Ghostbusters in the 80s were about to all come together. And then little chaos theory things happened and bounced off each other, that they all ended up going in separate directions. And now, it's 30 years later, and they're all different people living, completely different lives than what they would have done in the 80s. But still, could you stop that? It's like that kind of thing, like the covalent evolution of thought, how radio and television and really major scientific developments were always destined to happen because the underlying theory had always been discovered. It was just who would think in the way that would realize it was possible. And sometimes you had a scientist in Europe and a scientist in China who created basically almost the same kind of technology based on the same theories, but just at different times. So I like that idea that there was a covalent evolution of thought, that we were moving towards a point where the Ghostbusters and their technology would happen. And in this universe, it almost happened in the 80s, but everything spiraled off.
Possibly because...
if you think I'm awesome, write in the comments below.
Possibly because maybe Zool didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because this isn't as stated in the film, but I got the feeling that in the original Ghostbusters, getting closer to the time when Zool was going to appear, ghosts got more powerful, all that whole thing, and that's why they started getting seen. That's why they started developing the technology to find them and catch them.
They said the two Department of Homeland Security officers and the mayor was like, oh yeah, this has happened before, but we hushed it up, and like, what happened to the people? Oh, they got turned inside out. So it could have been that there was a minor thing that happened in the 80s. But because the Ghostbusters hadn't coalesced, someone else handled it, and for some reason it managed to be defused before it became the thing that happened in the 80s with Stay Puft.
But with I don't remember.
Sorry, I derailed you.
My mind is broken.
You were saying about how with Zool?
Yeah, it's just that's why if Zool didn't happen, with the original Ghostbusters film wouldn't have happened if that wasn't, or if Ivo Shandor hadn't set that up like in the 1920s or whatever. So in this one, this plays into the thing about the villain. The villain basically develops all the technology to be an artificial version of Shandor crossed with Zool, and I
guess kind of hinted that he's also pretty psychotic, but again, he's just so one-dimensional. He's just your stock bad guy. It's kind of a pity, because like the actor even looks a bit familiar, but I can't think of what I've seen him in.
But they needed. That's why the original one worked better. That the villain was already set up long beforehand, and the villain being set up is what allowed the heroes to happen. And without that, in this one, it's just like two things happening sort of in concurrence, and it's just like it's a bit like if Iron Man's villain was another guy who just happened to be making the same sort of soup independently. It's just like it's a bit
dodgy. Well, it's all dodgy writing. It's all heavy coincidental kind of stuff.
Yeah, sorry for going back to that.
I want wonton soup, though. There were several wonton soup cameos in this movie. They don't do wonton. Well, they do these things called crispy wontons over here, but they're not really wontons. They don't do wonton soup either. And they do in England and Scotland, but not real wontons. They're just nasty. And you know how I feel about wontons.
You love them.
I do. I like the big, thick one. But anyway. Yeah, so...
Oh, there was a random rock concert cameo by... embarrassing as fuck Ozzy Osbourne cameo from randomly.
Like, I wonder if he was contractually obligated. Because he's basically there to be like, hey, it's me, Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, in this bit, it was obviously filmed in a completely different place, just as though he was looking at it, and it's like...
Looking up from the off-screen area and being like, Sharon, what is this? And I'm like, why did you do this to him? Like, did you have blackmail on him? Like, what blackmail can you possibly have on Ozzy Osbourne? But
yeah, and that sort of just makes it worse. And
yeah, I was really
they had a
embarrassing.
band playing, and they didn't even get a real band to play. I don't think they were a real band anyway.
No.
And the singer got hit by, like, a demon ghost thing, and... I thought it would be much funnier.
And the cool thing is, it's like, oh, this big metal concert and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, we have raised Satan himself. But what they were playing was punk.
Yeah.
They weren't playing death metal. They
Yeah.
weren't even playing any kind of metal. They were playing punk.
Well, death metal's not Satan. It would be black metal, probably.
Whatever Satan metal it is.
They should have used an actual metal band.
Yeah.
Preferably one of the ones who dabbles in sort of satanic imagery.
Or if they couldn't afford that, they could have even gotten a local metal band in New York City. I'm sure there's one.
No, they could have.
If you're a metal band, in
they could have got Deicide. They could have got any black metal band. There's a hell of a lot of ones they could have used. But in this one, the main singer, was hit by the ghost and flew into the background, and then later on was like standing up and singing again. It would have been far funnier if during the fight, just as a side joke, the guy was dead, and his ghost climbed out of his body and panicked and ran off, freaking out. That would have been so much funnier.
This is not what I expected. But yeah, it was just.
There's a problem. The traps in this are shit. Like
they only get used once.
Yeah, and so most of the film, when they're like they got the Ghostbusters heroically taking an entire army of ghosts, and the only way they deal with the ghosts is that they blast them, and then they send them flying, and apparently that wins them, and then they disintegrate them.
The law of thermodynamics is because the ghosts are protoplasmic energy, they can't be destroyed. The energy can only be contained.
It indicated that they were destroyed and killed. They were disintegrated. They were destroyed. They're gone. They were annihilated.
Yeah, but I thought that.
Like even in the video game, they didn't do that.
I seem to remember. This might have been from the cartoon series. That there was a case where all their traps were full of like 30 ghosts each, and they had to put it into a special thing that actually sucked them into the netherworld and took them apart in the atomic level, so the trap would be empty and it could be used again. But that might be something from the cartoon show. Yeah,
this different continuity. Okay. So, well, this one, as indicated by the dialogue, they were just annihilating these ghosts, and some of them were like just Puritans and pilgrims and stuff, who were just.
That did get a chuckle out of me when she's being strangled by a Puritan. She's like, this is not appropriate Puritan behavior. And for some reason, I thought that was funny.
It's like, if you're going to have a big action scene where for some reason they're taking on like 50 ghosts at once, what they really should have just done...
They didn't. They took on about 7, really.
I know, but they were trying to make it look like there's a lot more coming. They were trying to make it seem like it was bigger than it was. Yeah. But what they should have done is... had actually one involved, and just because they've already created this ridiculous tech that the original Ghostbusters, not even original one, the 80s Ghostbusters used. Why not take it one level more and create a version of the Super Slammer from the Ghostbusters video game, where they put a massive trap on the roof of Ecto 1 and then sort of just swing them into the trap automatically opens when a ghost is near. So you just grab them, smack them in. That would have been far better way to do a big action scene.
And then they put a nuke on the back.
Yeah, and then instead
there was Slimer and there was a girl Slimer. I don't know where she came from.
And they were partying with a bunch of other ghosts.
I was actually kind of cute.
But Slimer, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't even the voice of Ivan Reitman, because Ivan Reitman plays Slimer in the movie.
Maybe there was some kind of contractual thing.
No, he was semi-involved.
Hmm.
He directed the first 2.
Maybe it just didn't work out. Like maybe his voice is,
Well, he was a voice he put on. He also did the voice of Zool. But also, we spotted what I believe was a Harold Ramis cameo.
Yeah.
Playing there was a bust of him in
an
a
academic
thing,
person at Columbia.
which I was a bit disappointed by because Slimer in the original one was John Belushi. John Belushi died during pre-production of Ghostbusters, and Dan Aykroyd has said that Belushi's greed, because he ate a lot and he did a lot of drugs, that was the origin of Slimer. It was their tribute to him. And I was really sad there was no Harold Ramis ghost.
Well...
He wouldn't even have to be recognizably Harold Ramis. It would just have to be some sort of character-based ghost, but...
I think, but here's the thing, though, because his character was the scientist, What better tribute to the character that because, that's Columbia. It's... they're like, oh, well, we are the most prestigious, and you need a reference from somewhere better than Princeton. And she's like, somewhere better than Princeton. And he's like, aye. But, like, that like I said, all these characters had that moment in the 80s where they could have all been together, but he went off and became such a wildly successful, prestigious scientist and probably lecturer and tenured at Columbia, and that his character probably now has passed away, but his bust is right there, in the physics department, like, oh, who was this? Oh, this was decades ago, this was before your time, but oh, he was amazing. And I think that's really fitting.
Well, it was nice that the bust was there. I still would have preferred some sort of ghost helping
Symbolism.
Even if it was like a ghost version of Egon from the cartoon, sort of make it look more like the cartoon with the ridiculous hair and stuff, just sort of floating around reading something. So sort of he got into the Ghostbusters thing, their base, and
he's like floating by.
He's reading their science books, and maybe have a bit where he
give me that.
He corrects some of someone's work and then floats away.
That would have been really cool.
Yeah,
I don't know
if
why.
There's a lot of ghosts flying around, then why not?
I don't know why the decision wasn't made. I mean,
they probably thought it would be disrespectful, even though it's got hella precedence in Ghostbusters.
But like I said, that's it. I do approve of what they did do.
Yeah, but the bust is fine. I would have preferred a ghost. But the ghost, they were...
Bill Murray got thrown out of a window. Spoilers.
Yeah, one of the main characters in this manslaughtered Bill Murray by opening a...
Negligent manslaughter.
Yeah, she opened the trap because he was all like, I want to see the ghost because I'm a skeptic and I'm basically Pick. And so she opens the trap and the ghost bursts out.
The scientific method.
This giant fucking dragon motherfucker bursts out of the trap, grabs Bill Murray and throws him through a window, killing him. And it's like, now we're not even going to mention this.
Yeah.
As far as the police know, as far as it looks, they threw him out of the window and it's like, nah, you're not arrested. Who gives a shit?
It was just Bill Murray. So...
None of the original Ghostbusters characters accidentally killed someone. No one. And this one, someone gets possessed and suddenly they can do exorcist shit. Which is another thing. When someone gets possessed in Ghostbusters, in the original ones, that doesn't happen. You don't do things that can damage you. Like, the closest thing is probably Janusz Poha, who gets, when he's pretending to be a nanny, a ghost nanny, although that wasn't him physically, who could stretch arm and stuff, but that wasn't him physically. That was a spectral version of him.
That and my cover is good. I love him. I love him in everything he's in.
Or possibly when Ray was possessed, and then he's got the head of Vigo, which is like giant and pulsing and stuff. But that was Ray fell away, and it was the head maintained there. Right? So it just...
Yeah, I actually did thought, oh shit, that's a C6 spinal injury right there. Yeah. When she gets out of that.
Yeah, but apparently not. You can snap your neck, and it's perfectly fine.
Maybe it's like the ectoplasm infuses things and makes them springy.
I don't know. But why did the main villain? Why was he able to develop powers and stuff and become giant and horrible?
Jedi master powers.
Yeah.
No, because he died by touching that machine, and he was drawing the power from the convergence of the ley lines. Because he wasn't that powerful until after he died.
Yeah, but my point is,
when you kill me, you will only make me stronger.
He's still just a ghost.
No,
with the other ones, it was a god, or Vigo was like, the sort of sorcerer who was maintaining power after his death for like centuries and stuff and gaining stuff. With this one, it's just like some guy built a machine, touched wires, dead, now can turn into the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, not made of marshmallow.
The only thing I can think of is that he was drawing the power directly from the ley line, because he has these things that cross the ley lines and then makes a vortex, and
Yeah, it's
no one said don't cross the streams.
Yeah. But with this one, it's bits.
My childhood is over. Well, it is because I'm 36. Do you know I got carded buying cheese today?
Because it was Guinness cheese.
I had to put it in the refrigerator. But your man, the German, who also sells salted licorice, and that's a story for another day. I was like, oh, like Guinness cheese, I want 2 pounds. He goes, how old are you? I was like, excuse me, how old are you? I'm 36. Oh, it's okay. I was like, do I have my driver's license? No, it's okay. I got carded buying cheese. Do you think it'll be alright?
I think it'll be fine.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in the fridge.
But the villain... Okay, the villain, it's just an example of how they were just taking elements from the first one and sort of rearranging them in a way that makes less sense. Because the original one, Stay Puft, Zool was a god. Yeah. Extra-dimensional god called by someone through a thing from a century earlier. With this one, it's just like, one guy can do all these things because say so. I discovered this book, and then someone else wrote about theory, and then I built a machine which can do all this shit. In the other one, it's like these different elements that were sort of building on each other, and this one is just like, I can do everything because I'm villain.
Yeah. It's a lot of because the plot says so.
Yeah.
I mean...
It's not good.
Like, the thing is, if you were really, really, really into the first one and the second one, if you, watched the series and you had all the things and you were really into it, I would say if you think you're not gonna like it, if you think that you're gonna come away feeling really horrible, don't see it. Because, I'll tell you what, it's not gonna... Nothing's ever what we expect it to be. And I've said that I lived and breathed Star Wars when I was a little teeny child. I tell you what, I wanted to grow up to be a Jedi Knight. Like, I had, like, Wookiees on my underpants, for Christ's sake. But, like, no, I did. I had this really cute... My mom got me this really cute little with underpants and a little undershirt, and I ran around like Luke Skywalker. But I went into Force Awakening thinking, this might be bad, but it'll definitely be different. And it was different, but it was also good. And the things that were not good about it, I was willing to overlook. But if you saw the trailer and you're angry and you're like, fuck this noise, I disagree with all of this. I don't think it's funny. This isn't how I would have wanted it to be. Don't go see it because you're gonna give yourself a stroke or something like that. If you're already angry about it, if you're already just don't go see it. I mean, we saw it on a half-price night. It was alright. It was full of kids. I ate a shit ton of sugar.
Kids who watch this one will probably love it as much as the ones who saw the other one.
Yeah.
However,
like the part from the trailer where he shows the ghost logo with the boobs, all the kids are like, blah, oh my god, boobies, blah.
However, it'll be interesting to see if their love of it maintains as much as the other
I
ones.
was thinking about that.
Because it doesn't have the adult appeal as well.
I was wondering if another 30 years, when they go to reboot this franchise,
Well, they'll reboot it before 30 years.
There are little kids being like, oh my, adults being like, oh my gosh, it'll never be as good as the original in 2016. And someone will be like, well, actually, there was one of the... No, I'm not even thinking about the one.
And then there was one in the 1970s with a gorilla.
But, yeah, so, I mean, as far... Will this be a feminist touchstone?
No.
No.
It's a film with women in it.
I've been seeing an image go around on social media of one of the cast members meeting, like, some little girls who are, dressed in, like, wee little cosplays, and there's a little girl in the background with a face like... And, like, this is why. And I'm like, you know what? If you take your little girl into it and she goes running about the house the rest of the night being like, Mom, I ain't afraid of no ghosts, that's great. I mean, yeah, it's awesome if even, to be a child, boy or girl, or anything in between, and you have a character that you can connect with, that's great. But would I call this a major feminist milestone? No. Was this a feminist movie? No, it was poorly written and the script wasn't very good. Is it cool to that they tried to merge a chick flick with, a more, I wouldn't say horror film, but a more...
Well, Ghostbusters, it's like a sex comedy horror film, sex comedy crossover. But sex comedy horror crossover, so they were trying to mix several...
so many genres.
So this one, it was chick flick and horror film, and they didn't do any horror, so it's like... A chick
and it wasn't
flick,
as much action either.
It's like a chick flick took a horror film, killed it, skinned it, and wore its bloody skin.
Yeah.
So it had the imagery of a horror film, but none of the construction.
I mean, this passed the Bechdel test, but I wouldn't call this a feminist film. And I actually, here's the thing. If you go to see it and you think it sucks, and you're like, here's 15 ways that I think we could, we always say, oh, they could have done this to improve that, they could have written that. That's your thing, that's fine. If you're a guy or a girl who says, I don't like this film, I went to go see it, and here's my opinions on why, that's great. I don't think that you're a misogynist for saying that. If you go to see this film and say, well, I think it's bad because, men evolved to be Ghostbusters and women evolved to have Etsy stores, then you're being a dick. Then you are being a misogynist.
Yeah.
But if you want to criticize this film because you didn't like it, because you thought it was bad, go on you,
Yeah. Doing that right here. I view this one quite similar to New Who.
But, Kristen McKinnon, call me.
But it's a bit like my reaction to New Who, in that it's different. I don't like the difference. I will complain incessantly about it. However, people who grow up with the new are going to like that. That's going to be their thing. And I can't take that from them. I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, I mean, if you enjoyed the first one, it's still the first two. It's still there. It's still on DVD. I think it's on Blu-ray now, isn't it?
I'm really sad that there was no Ghostbusters 3. I really wish there was. This, I think, with some retooling, it should have been a Ghostbusters 3, just distant sequel a la Force Awakens, but they decided not to do that.
Or like my idea about the franchise. I think that would have been pretty cool.
Even if they, if this is success, maybe they'll do another original cast Ghostbusters as an animated thing. Maybe someday they'll get really desperate and weird, have like an interdimensional crossover with parallel universes or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Doubt it, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, is it worth it? It depends. I mean, we saw it on Half Price Night. If you really think you're going to enjoy it, knock yourself out. If you can go on Half Price Night or matinee in America, that's grand. But if you already think you're not going to like it, just don't put yourself through it. You know, don't waste the money. Go see something you really want to see. Yeah. Wait for it to hit Netflix. Wait for it to come out. It'll be $9.99 at Target on DVD the day it comes out. So
plus, one person whose opinion on Ghostbusters matters more than anyone
is yours.
No, it's Dan Aykroyd's.
Oh, that's true.
Dan Aykroyd is...
Well, I thought the whole thing of the only person opinions that should matter to you is you.
No, if you're going to listen to anyone, Aykroyd really likes it, and he's the guy, he invented the idea, he's the one who gave it the construction, he did the world building.
He saw a screening one, he said, no, this is really great, and I think you guys should go see it. So, I mean...
And, his cameo was crap in this, but...
And it was funny still.
His cameo actually in Casper made more sense in the Ghostbusters context, but he liked it, and you gotta give him respect for that. I mean, admittedly, James Cameron liked Terminator Genesis, but James Cameron has terrible taste in films. One last thing about why this is worked less well. The pseudoscience they got for talking about ghosts and for dealing with stuff is severely hackneyed and sort of half-assed and doesn't have much internal sense.
Yeah, it really was movie science. You had the main character who was an actual physicist. Apparently, published so many papers and all this stuff. She's, about to get tenure at a very prestigious, American university. But she never does any actual science. She's like, we all use the scientific method here, she says to the skeptic played by Bill Murray, but we never see her talking about any actual physics theory for someone who apparently is a really well-published academic. And the part where she, gets fired for not being serious enough, and she's like, I'm fired, now what am I going to do with my life? Oh my god, you've got a PhD. You were nearly tenured at Columbia. Any university would have you. That's not how academia works.
Yeah, well, the original Ghostbusters... Its pseudoscience was much more internally consistent and made more sense, simply because, if I remember correctly, Dan Aykroyd's family were into spiritualism for generations, and Dan Aykroyd's dad is a guy who would investigate ghosts and sort of, in a scientific way, obviously quotation marks, but apparently a lot of, if not all of the science in Ghostbusters was borrowed from his work. And that's why it's got the veneer of it appears to be more logical and stuff, because it's taken from that rather than just some writer made up just late night, that'll do. With that one, it's like he took things from his quote-unquote, his dad's quote-unquote research.
Yeah, but that's what we have to say about that. We watched it, so you didn't have... Well, no, you still can. But seriously, do not eat the sheer amount of junk food that we ate before you see it, because I had a cronut, I had one of the big German sausages, and a shit ton of sugar. So that's me for the night. Any final words?
How old are you?
Shut up. I can't believe I got credit for cheese. We'll see you guys next time.
Oh, and the firehouse turned up.
Yeah. That was kind of cool.
It's a real firehouse.
I believe you. So that's us.